Hello everybody and welcome to our new series ranking the bosses in the Batman Arkham franchise from worst to best. We'll be taking a look at each game individually in the same order we've been running them in the DeMod-a-Thon. That means first up today we have the start of it all with Arkham Asylum. As a note, I'm massaging the definition of what is and isn't a boss to fit my own criteria. Those criteria being, does it differ from a standard enemy encounter, whether that be in combat or predator mode, and does it differ in any significant way from the standard gameplay loop. That means things like Killer Croc are included for being far enough away from your average Arkham Asylum gameplay, even though it isn't a straight up fight. That also means I'm not counting every single time you encounter a Titan in the game, because while all of those could be considered bosses, they are more so bosses made into standard enemies for tougher combat segments in the later part of the game. With all that in mind, let's get started with the worst boss in Arkham Asylum. Number 7, Titan Joker. Final bosses are often some of the best any game has to offer. Anyone that crafts a story in a game wants the conclusion to feel as satisfying as the journey. Everything is on that track until the moment the Joker shoots himself and becomes this roided out monstrosity. Despite the fact that a brutish Joker goes against a lot of what makes the Joker as a character interesting, he does look pretty neat. The fight itself, though, far from neat. The Joker will swing at you 3 times and then get bored. He'll run up to a news chopper and pose for his glorious audience. Fair enough, the Joker's insane and likes a showboat. You fight a couple of goons and then use the backflow to bring that ego back to earth. Where the problem lies is that despite you doing this once, the Joker goes back for more and more attention. He barely fights you at all and leaves it to his lackeys. What the hell was the point of becoming a superpowered beefcake if all you wanted to do was pose? I guess the Joker is more interested in bodybuilding fame than conquering the Bat. As a result, you're left with a fight that not only disappoints as a final boss, but is a mockery of a boss battle in general. Number 6, Imperfect Titan. You know the Joker fight is bad when I'm putting a fight like this above it. The Imperfect Titan is the first boss fight in the game and the first time you're introduced to these souped up enemies. You can't actually do much here other than dodge and beat on him a bit. In fact, fighting him doesn't matter at all. The whole point of this fight is to survive until his body breaks down and you win automatically. A fight that forces you to survive is really only interesting if there's story to go along with it or if there's a challenge in staying alive. There is some challenge there because it's thrown on you early in the game and so suddenly, but it doesn't feel particularly compelling. It is at least a good introduction to an enemy you'll be seeing a lot more of, and it's a good set piece to kick off your curiosity about Titan, but as a boss it's severely underwhelming. Number 5, Bane. Bane is one of my favorite Batman villains. It's a shame his fight doesn't live up to my admiration. Put simply, he's a glorified Titan goon. He'll charge you, slam the ground, and throw stuff in your face, exactly like the Titan goons do. The only way to fight him is to throw a batarang when he charges and dodge to make him stagger. Do it enough and you can punch him hard enough for a stun, letting you rip a venom-feeding hose off of his back. As you do, the Joker will send increasingly large waves of normies to assist, but it's not as if you don't have plenty of experience kicking their butt at this point. Bane will even help you out as he sets his sights on you solely. The ending with you obliterating him with a Batmobile is a gloriously brutal finisher, but that's about the only satisfaction I get out of what is really a Titan goon fight with a Bane skin. Number 4, Twin Titans. Damn, there sure are a lot of these Titan fights in the game. Fortunately, this is the last of them that we'll be counting on today's list, and this monstrous duo is the cream of a terribly rotten crop. The only thing that makes them any more interesting than Bane is that there's 2 of them. Focusing on a single Titan is far too easy. That's why Bane has basic enemies enter the fray to amp up the difficulty in a lazy way. You could argue throwing 2 of the same reused enemy in an arena is also lazy, but at least they can both be considered full bosses. Not good ones, mind you, but bosses nonetheless. Balancing your focus between the 2 does present a marginally interesting challenge, and it's a blast making them beat each other senseless. Still, like many of the Titan fights before them, that's the only fraction of fun you'll be getting here. Number 3, Killer Croc. Now we finally see a bump upward in the quality of bosses. I can imagine that many of you would not consider the Killer Croc segment a boss fight, rather it's more of a level sequence. For me, because this sequence differs so greatly from the standard gameplay loop and introduces unique mechanics such as footstep volume, seeking a collectible objective within a maze with the use of a hot and cold compass, and staying vigilant for surprise attacks from Croc, I give it a nod as sort of a stealth boss fight. That said, how does it fare? It's pretty solid. Because of the variance from standard gameplay, it's very refreshing in the late game, and it's cool that there's a payoff to the shit-talking Croc does in the opening moments. The mechanics themselves are solid and fun to work with for a time. That's where the fight falters. It goes on far too long to remain interesting because it's focused largely around moving at a snail's pace. You can speed it up with use of the line launcher, but even then the trek back once you've collected all the plant spores is way too lengthy. Just like with Bane though, the final payoff is excellent, which makes the slog back feel at least a little more rewarding. Overall, the Croc sequence was a solid idea, and I'm glad they tried something different instead of Croc sprinting at you and begging for a batarang so you could fight him straight up like the previous copy-paste Titan bosses. Number 2, all 3 Scarecrow sequences. If you really want to talk about stealth though, that's Scarecrow in a nutshell. In fact, these segments do a great job of blending the sneakiness of Predator gameplay and some of the standard combat sequences in the game. The set pieces are phenomenal and the interactions you have before each nightmare unfolds with Crane himself are spectacular. The final 3 of these with Joker running the asylum is up there as one of the best moments in the entire game. When it comes down to it though, there's little fighting actually involved. The skeleton variants of basic enemies break down far easier than those they're modeled after, and unlike the Predator segments, which will be forgiving to a degree when you're spotted, being spotted by Crane at all is instant death. This can feel unfair, but with the employed design, I don't think it would have worked to have a multiple strike system. It boils down to you needing to exhibit patience, something I'm not really known for when playing games. Still, even if the segments don't make for the most compelling gameplay ever, they offer enough atmosphere and tension to be rated near the top of the list. But we have one final boss who is far and away better than all of her competition. And the number 1 best boss in Arkham Asylum, Poison Ivy. The fight with the souped up Titan Ivy is unquestionably the best fight in Arkham Asylum for me, and it isn't even close. Out of all the previous bosses on the list, she is the only one who has the mechanics of a traditional boss, with those mechanics actually being very well done, making the fight a pleasure to experience. Ivy can send roots throughout the sections of the ground that will trap you, and she'll fire red orbs that can damage you, and boy do they come at you hard and fast. This forces you to constantly pay attention to your placement on the map and asks perfect dodging of you. Batman's dodge animation is rather slow, so if you mistime it, you'll not only end up getting hit by the orb you meant to dodge, but you'll be out of rhythm for the next. In between all these, you'll need to fire off quick batarangs at Ivy, particularly between the red orb fire when she exposes her body to you. After enough of this, you'll get to explode her face, giving you loads of XP and in turn some of your HP back, a nice little boost for the halfway point. For this second phase, Ivy fires off far more orbs, is more aggressive with her roots, and sends Mind Slaves to keep you even further on your toes. They also give XP so they can be continuous boosts to your health. This perfectly balances how hard it can be to dodge everything that she throws at you. The method of damaging her remains the same, and once you knock her down, you get to blow your final bat load all over her beloved plants. A great ending to the greatest fight Arkham Asylum has to offer. Of course, that's just my opinion. Tell me which Arkham Asylum bosses are your favorite and least favorite in the comments below. Next time we'll be tackling the bosses of Arkham City. I've still got a Hollow Knight boss ranking to deliver, but I'm waiting for the Gods and Glory expansion on August 23rd. Forgive me, but with it being so close, I think it'll make sense to do a revote afterward. And of course, I've still got the best bosses in the Soul series remastered on the way. Be sure to subscribe for all those videos and more, and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. It means a lot to me to know that you're digging the content. And of course, thank you all for watching, much love to you, and I'll see you in the next video.